Mastering list printing in Python.
Welcome to another video on smart architectural programming. My name is Mohammed and coding alongside me is.
It's George, and today we'll be going over mastering list printing in Python. I'll let you drive, Mohammed.
So a lot of you might be thinking that list printing is quite simple, plain, and we can just look up printing lists on, just do a quick Google search and we'll get the answer. But with anything in Python or any other programming language, it is very important to again understand that just learning to do a single task would not help you go far. You need to learn a proper way to do that. You need to learn a way to do that in which you have more control, and that method could be applied across multiple different situations within Python, just not printing lists, basically. So in this video, while you might be learning how to print lists, but at the same time, you'll be learning how to print anything, any sort of data type in a way that is more effective in a method, in different methods, and understanding those methods, you'll understand which method you might need to use at a certain situation. If you need customizability and flexibility, then there's one method. If you need, just a quick console law, printing it on the console, then you can use another method. And if you want to use a more concise method to deal with larger lists, there's another method. At least there are various methods to print lists in Python. Each has its own level of simplicity, complexity, or adherence to the Pythonic principles. We'll just start with the first method, which is the easy way, which I've dubbed the easy way, actually. So it's probably the most common printing method that you'll see anywhere when you look at, you look up Google on how to print lists. You've probably used it once or twice before as well. But in this case, I mean, it's quite simple, actually. You just use the built-in Python print function, and you enter the input within that print function, and you just run the code. And the print function automatically formats and prints the entire list in a readable format on the console for you. This method is very simple, concise, suitable for quick debugging and displaying contents of the list. We'll quickly run this code and see if it works properly. It works properly, but notice here it prints the entire Python list, including the square brackets and the commas within the list. So it prints the entire data type, no matter what it is. We haven't formatted it. It just consoles it on the console. It just logs it on the console. Now, this method is very, very quick, easy, but at the same time, it is very, very, what's the word? I think it's stubborn, if you will, that you can't make a lot of changes to the output that you're going to get. You can't edit it. You can't process the data. You can't clean it. And in most cases, there's no practical purpose for this. You might be able to print it like this, but there's no practical programming purpose where you just need to print the same data type on the console. You might have, in most cases, printing requires cleaning the data and presenting it in a readable format. But that's not what's happening here with this specific method, which is the easy method. I mean, if we look more into it, there are benefits to this as well. The easy way is simple. It requires only one line of code. It's easy to understand and concise, hence the readability of this code is very, very good. Anybody who looks at your code, it'd see short, simple, sweet, and immediately would understand exactly what you're trying to do. But there are also, again, as I mentioned, there are drawbacks to all methods, there are benefits to all methods. You need to understand them on a basic level so that you're able to identify where to leverage which method, because this is just not for printing lists, it's also for printing any sort of data type that you might encounter in Python. The drawbacks for this is that it's limited in customization. You cannot format the output in the way that you want it to be. You have less control over the formatting, and the method might not be the best choice to use in practical purposes. Mainly, the usage of the easy method, if on a professional level, if I add, is basically related to debugging. So if you're coding somewhere and you want to identify if your logic is correct, you print out, because that logic doesn't need to appear on the front side of the software, or does not appear anywhere interactable within the program that you're building. So you might want to print it on the console to see what's happening, if the logic is working properly or not. It's used for debugging purposes. But other than that, there's no practical way to use this when you're building a software. There's no actually tangible benefit within the software of using it, unless you're trying to debug that software. The second way is what I'm calling the hard way. And it's like hard in context of printing lists. It's not that hard, but it's hard in context of printing lists. And again, this video, if you're following along till there, it's for people who are at a very basic level of Python. But it would also help people on a higher level, because most people do not try to intrinsically understand the usage of different uh, ways, because they just pick up one method and are more comfortable of using that over and over and again. But you need to understand different ways to do a single task, because it would help you understand how Python works, how the code that you write is different from another solution that you might write. And the reason for that is because it helps you understand Python more. For example, in the hard way, you'll notice we're using a for loop to print the list. And while this seems overtly complicated to print a simple, just to print the list, it has its usage. Believe me, it has its usages. Because in this case, you're going over each element of the list individually, one by one by one. Now, for those who are on a high level of Python, who would immediately understand that creates incredible possibilities in dealing with this list or any sort of data. This is a very small list, so you might not, so a lot of people might not understand the importance of that. But if you have hundreds or thousands of elements within a list, that increases more possibility, because now you're not going to deal with every element of the list, or you're not going to print every element of the list. You might need special segments or special aspects, and that's where customization comes in. With the for loop, you're going over each and every item of the list, so you can customize exactly what you want to print, how you want to print, how you want to format that. And this slowly comes around and makes more sense, because this probably has some practical implications for programmers when they're actually doing professional level projects. So if you look at my code here, within the print function, I've added element, which is probably the element we'll be iterating over from the list. And you notice a unique element here. End equals to a space, basically. Basically, what this means is, instead of starting a new line after printing an element, because we're iterating over every element one by one, right? So if we iterate over one element, let's say 1, we print 1, then we restart the loop. What happens next is print function automatically creates a new line, and next output would be on the new line. So to understand this more clearly, we're going to remove this end function here. We're going to run this script. You'll notice 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we printed every element on a new line instead of on the same line. So what I was doing with the end aspect, end equals to space there, is that we're printing all the elements on a single line. But again, the importance of this piece of code using the for loop is not this, this specific aspect of the print function. I just put it out there so you could understand exactly what I was doing here. The importance of this is that this provides a very powerful tool for us to deal with data, to move, use data, to clean data, and to format data, which was not possible in just using the print function as we did in the easy way.